Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to In the Office with Scott and Wallace. I'm Robert Scott.
Matt McNamara.
We're still missing Clint. Clint is actually traveling to Georgia for a case management conference, so he will have to get back with us next week.
Always scheduling things to get out of Facebook Live.
That's right. These are obligations.
Yeah.
So anyway, happy Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
I know everybody's probably following that. The Democratic primaries a hotly contested issue moving forward. And I think we'll get some clarification on what's going to happen after today. So I know everyone's paying attention to that. But anyway, kind of staying within the theme of politics, Matt, I wanted to bring you on, and obviously everyone knows you handle employment claims for our firm. But I wanted to ask you, how, obviously working together, people come from a bunch of different backgrounds, a bunch of different political beliefs. How does diverse political opinions, can an employer discriminate against someone for a political opinion, for example?
Right.
Can you hit on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
That's not a great.
No, it's
pretty
very broad,
question.
and I think I understand that it's. People are very passionate about politics. It affects all of us. It affects everything about our everyday life, and so. We also know that not everybody agrees on certain political views, support different political parties, political candidates. And that's okay. It's part of, what makes our country great. Sure. And so sticking with kind of a distinction between the private sector and the public sector. Private sector, like we're a private company. There aren't any protections in there for your political beliefs. An employer, unfortunately, if they wanted to take action against somebody because of a political belief they held or the party that they're in, there aren't any mechanisms in place to protect in that situation.
So belief obviously is different than race or gender
correct.
Religious belief.
Right. It's different than all those beliefs. It's more political in nature. Those types of issues that are normally coming up.
Right.
But it's different if you're a public employee. You work for the state. You work for a municipality. It's a state-run organization, whether it's at the state level, the local level, or the federal level.
Right.
When you work for a public employer, you're seen as working for the government. So when the government takes action against you, it's seen as government action. The legal term, state action taken against you. So if you're in an office, there are certain protection. If you're in a public office, public employment, there are certain additional protections to this, the traditional ones we talk about here all the time. As far as discrimination, retaliation, all that. The Constitution protects you from state action. Protects all of us from state action. And when you're an employee for a state, government, local government, if the government takes action against you, that's state. The Constitution's in place to protect you. So there are additional protections there for employees in the public sector.
No, obviously, we've got attorney-client privilege and
Right.
all of those good things, but through your practice, can you give us maybe an example of something you've seen where we've had to come and fight the issue?
There are certainly instances. Imagine, if there's somebody who is, wants to run for the school board or some local council, and they're already part of that governing body. If they decide to essentially run against their boss, there's protections in place under the First Amendment. Not only does the First Amendment provide for freedom of speech, it provides against freedom of association, how you associate, the beliefs that you have, what you're speaking about. And if an employer wants to terminate you because of the opinions that you hold about, some political opinion that you hold, or a candidate you support, or your intent to run for a specific office, then your employer could be overstepping your First Amendment rights if they terminate you. And that's its own cause of action because the state's taking action against you, and it's taking action against you because of you're exercising a guarantee of the Constitution.
And by the way, you're doing a really good job of speaking loudly. Every loud vehicle that could possibly pass by has made its way by.
To pick up when I hear it, When I hear 'em go
You're
by.
doing a good job.
Thank you.
Well, the guy on the motorcycle sports.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was
Vroom, vroom.
In short, there are some different considerations that a public employee should have if they're being terminated or adverse actions being taken against them, and they feel it's due to some political belief of theirs or some political activity that they've engaged in.
It's very interesting.
And it's very, very fact specific, like almost everything we talk about on here. So I don't want everybody going out there and do everything you can to, and think you're going to be protected by the First Amendment. It's not that big of a blanket.
Right.
But certainly it's a consideration that employers should, keep in mind. And an employee also, if you work for the state of Florida, which is obviously a large employer here in Tallahassee, if you feel that that's playing into it, I mean, we'd be happy to kind of speak with you and go with you over that, because there might be some kind of constitutional violation.
Exactly. So, and Matt, you did a great job articulating that. But if you feel like if you're working in the public sector and you feel like maybe discriminated against, or your employer's taking an adverse action against you because of a political belief, for example, call Matt and talk to him. Don't assume you have the right to do something. Call Matt, run the facts by him, or any employer, run the facts by him or her, and find out what your options are moving forward. But obviously, as Matt just explained, it doesn't matter if it's your own boss. If you're in the public sector, they're not allowed to come in and take adverse action against you necessarily.
Yeah, there are certainly instances where it's happened in the past. And like I said, it's a very kind of murky area of the law to a certain extent. But we don't want the state taking action against an individual for expressing their political beliefs. And that extends to an individual who's working for the state, not just a private citizen.
Right. Okay. Megan, any questions?
No questions.
All
No.
right. Well, that was a very interesting topic. Thanks for joining me.
Of course.
And you can see Matt anytime on the Facebook Live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Well,
You're going to be here
Almost
every Tuesday now?
Almost every Tuesday.
Almost every Tuesday.
Except when Clint's here.
So anyway, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy Super Tuesday. Follow the election results, and we'll be back with you next week.
All right. See you guys.